Good morning, everybody, and welcome to InsureTalk63. It's my privilege to be your host today. My name is Carl Nolter, and I'm looking forward to spending some quality time with you and some of our fabulous speakers. Whether you're an insurer, a reinsurer, a broker, part of a UMA, a claims specialist, a risk manager, a supplier, a regulator, a student, a young professional, or any one of the other vital players in our extraordinary industry, we are delighted to have you with us. InsureTalk has become a proper gathering place for South African and often further afield insurance professionals. Thousands of us join every month to earn CPD hours, to learn, to share ideas, to collaborate, to network, and we want to thank you for the conversations and the messages. Keep them coming, and the chats are always highly entertaining. A reminder that the speakers won't be answering any of the questions that you post there during the live session, but we do pick up on them in the blog that we publish afterwards on CN&CO, and the speakers do engage with you afterwards as well. The recording, as always, will be available on YouTube afterwards, and so you're welcome to rewatch and promote it to others in your business. Today's theme is Insurance 2026, Innovation, Influence, and the Future of the Industry. And that's a big theme, but it's also exactly where we are as an industry. Claims are changing. Customer expectations are changing. Talent is changing. The broker's role is changing. Regulation, technology, data, AI, distribution, trust, all of that is shifting. And as always, insurance sits right in the middle of it all. Insurance is real life. When things go wrong, when people need help, when businesses need to recover or grow, when families need certainty, when society needs resilience, insurance matters even more. So InsureTalk is driven by Llewellyn du Plessis and his CN&CO events team. We are coming to you live today from the studio in Cape Town, but the team that makes this happen sits across the country. And there are many moving parts behind the scenes. Registration, CPD, the design, speakers, tech, comms, follow-up, sponsors, certificates, and of course, making sure that I stay on track. And one of those key people is Verona, who has worked with Llewellyn for many years and is quite literally about to give birth. She's still working, but I am hoping that somewhere today during the session we get news of InsureTalk's first baby. So thank you, Verona, for all that you do, and good luck to you with the birth of your child. But just to repeat, giving birth would be a fantastic insurance first. So good luck. Before we get into today's formal program, two things from the past week. Over the weekend, I was privileged to be involved in the Comrades as a board member, and I welcomed home most of the 20-odd thousand runners that completed the Comrades, shaking their hands as they crossed the finish line. It was spectacular. It was emotional. It was special. It was iconically South Africa. But it also reminded me of insurance. Not because insurance and running are the same thing, although both require a bit of discipline, patience, resilience, and sometimes a fair amount of pain. But because insurance and the Comrades are both an ecosystem. There are the athletes that people see, of course, but behind them are families, volunteers, coaches, sponsors, logistic teams, security, and just a whole range of people making it happen. And insurance is the same. The client may only see a policy, one claim, one premium, one broker. But behind that sits this ecosystem of people from InsureTalk and further afield. People who make the promises real. Many of the runners that I saw at the Comrades have insurance links. Whether they are Colin, previous president of the IISA from APSA, many of our well-known brokers, underwriters, our friends from I2 are the sponsors or the specialist insurers for the Comrades, things like medical malpractice. An interesting stat, which will soon be in the Guinness Book of Records, is that the medical grouping that services the Comrades is the largest of any live event. Insurance for the overseas runners, you could feel and see the impact of the industry. So insurance is not abstract. It really is woven into daily life. The second moment that I want to focus on the past week was Youth Day. On Tuesday, we remembered the brave young people of 1976. But I think that Youth Day is also a challenge for us today. Are we listening properly to young people now? Are we giving them enough opportunity? Are we allowing them to influence our industry enough, influencing our industry and developing it? Are we making space for new energy, new thinking, and new ideas? And that links beautifully, I think, to today's program. Because later today we'll hear from the Insurance Apprentice winner of 2026 and the fantastic work that Rianette and her team from the Insurance Apprentice do. And that matters, not as a side item, but because the future of our industry is not theoretical. It's already here. It's sitting with the young people in our ecosystem. So perhaps the challenge for today is this. Like the comrades, we must not lose our traditions, our discipline, our lessons from the past, or our respect for those who helped build the industry. But we cannot run tomorrow's race with today's shoes. We have to use innovation intelligently. We have to listen to the youth. We have to understand technology without being seduced by empty hope. So a few practical points before we get going with the speakers. Please submit your questions via the Q&A facility, not the chat. And as I mentioned, those will be addressed post. We will repeat that a few times because some of you forget that. CPD points will be accredited to attendees after the session, and you can access your certificates via the InsureTalk CPD portal on insuretalk.co.za. insuretalk.co.za, much better way to get your certificates than sending me a WhatsApp or phoning me during the week. I promise you the system is way more efficient. And please use the same email address that you use to register. A big thank you to every event partner today. A big thank you to our event partner today, well, all the partners, but specifically our event partner, True Aim. Thank you to our association partner, the FIA, our media partner, FA News, and all of today's speakers, and of course, every one of you attending. And now to our first speaker. Ruben John is one of those people whose name sounds like two first names, which already makes him interesting. He's a South African living in Switzerland, and he's doing serious work at the sharp edge of insurance technology. I met him through a husband, now an ex-husband, of a friend of mine who works in marketing. Because life and insurance networks, as I mentioned earlier, intertwine. This is how our industry works. Relationships, conversations, introductions, trust. Our insurance network is really valuable. Ruben is the CEO and co-founder of True Aim, a Swiss insurtech business helping insurers, brokers, and various other people in the ecosystem across Europe, South Africa, and the United States automate their claims processing and complex claims decision-making. As I said, his work sits at the intersection of artificial intelligence, regulatory compliance, and real-world claims operations. Importantly, for Ruben and his team, AI is not just a buzzword. It's about how insurers can move faster, make better decisions, maintain proper governance, and still protect customer trust. The topic today is the future of claims is already here, from manual processing to autonomous decisioning. So Ruben, welcome to InsureTalk. We're delighted that you're joining us, and we're very much looking forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, a very big thank you to Carl and the entire team at CN&CO for putting this together. It really is a privilege to be here today to speak. Thank you for the wonderful introduction as well and the humor that you integrated there. I know it's funny that I have two first names, but I promise you when it comes to restaurant reservations and passport control, it's not so funny anymore. But either way, I hope that you enjoyed today's talk. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Let me open up the PowerPoint. Great. I hope everybody can see my screen. You should see a video window in front of you. And how we're going to begin today is with a video, and I will provide you with a story in the background while the video is playing, and then we'll link the two together at the end. About 2 years ago, I purchased a train ticket in Switzerland to travel from Zurich to Geneva. The trip is approximately 3 hours long. On the way there, We were told that there was an accident that had occurred on the tracks in front of us. I believe there was an animal that had actually been hit by a train, unfortunately. And we were told that the train had to stop and could no longer proceed on the tracks. We had two options. We could take alternative transport to get to the destination, a car or perhaps a different train that followed a different route, or we could turn back to Zurich and take the train back. I decided to take the train back to Zurich. And on the way back, I thought, well, they haven't really delivered their service to me. Surely I can request a refund. And I had purchased travel insurance for the train ticket. So I went online, I went onto their app, and in all fairness to them, the application or submission process for the refund under the claim warranty was very simple. I submitted it in under 2 minutes. It was very easy. And immediately afterwards, I received an email. I felt my phone vibrate and I looked and I opened my inbox. And it was this very interesting feeling that I had of, could it be possible that I've already been refunded? And unfortunately, it was that classic email that all of us have received, which is, thank you so much for your submission. We'll get back to you within 14 days to let you know whether or not your claim has been approved. And it just got me wondering, how is it that with today's technology, with access to my credit card details, with details around the peril, which in this case was the cancellation, how is it with all of this information and the ecosystem that we have that you aren't able to process claims in a live and dynamic manner, which is there for your customer at the exact time when you're in need? And I understand this is a parametric example. There are much more complicated examples when it comes to insurance claims, but at the same time, it had me obsessed with solving this problem. How is it that we can make the customer experience for insurance so wonderful that while it's loading on their screen, we've already told them that your claim has been approved and payment has been made into your account? This for me is a wonderful world and a wonderful vision, and it's something that I became obsessed with solving. What's interesting is while I've been explaining the problem to you, we now have technology that's able to take a customer submission, look at the claim, extract all of the relevant data, contextualize it, do a fraud scan and produce fraud intelligence, proceed with complex decisioning on the claim, and pay the customer, as well as be scrutinized by the regulator in your relevant jurisdiction, and instantly produce an audit trail or decision dossier, which is regulator grade that you can submit and show them exactly how that decision was made, where there was a human involved, where there was a machine or an AI agent involved, how were they prompted, was there any bias in the model, etc. And I think that's a really interesting place that we are right now, that in the time it took to explain the problem, we've actually now in a space where we've solved it. My name is Ruben John, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of TrueAim. As Carl kindly mentioned, we are a Swiss-based InsureTech. We are very proud as well to have been funded by the Swiss government because of the innovation of our technology. And we really are sitting at the cutting edge of what is possible when it comes to AI and complex decisioning. We are building decisioning engines which are built for regulated environments. We're active across Europe, the USA, and South Africa. As many of you can probably hear, I have a South African accent. I'm a very proud South African who, along his life's journey, found his way to Zurich, where I've lived for the past 8 years, but still love the country very much and visit very often. What we're going to try and do today is inspire. I've shown you a video at the beginning, which gives you an idea of the fact that you can have a claim pilot very similar to an interaction with ChatGPT or Claude, literally sitting right next to you as a claim assessor, helping you contextualize every single claim, recording every action that is taken, and acting as your sparring partner as you work through your claims. This is just one of the technologies that's available to help claims handlers, claims adjusters, and the insurance industry as a whole. I'll be demonstrating some of the other technologies that exist, where they apply, where I think we're heading in the future as well. And hopefully you leave this session with a sense of wow, I didn't know that was achievable, or perhaps you had some idea already, but to expand your thinking and to think of practical uses and cases where you can apply this within your businesses or within your life. Because obviously it doesn't only apply to insurance, it applies to many other industries as well. Let's first start with the current state of insurance claims processing. And for a long time, it served the industry very well. We've had human claim handlers or assessors, and I understand there's a nuance between an adjuster and an assessor, but I'll use them interchangeably for the purpose of today's presentation. And it typically involved submission of documents, sometimes paper-based, although we have moved to a more electronic submission in recent years. And you would need to page through documents, look at the GICs, look at the business rules that you have in place, and come to some sort of determination around how do we decide if coverage is provided. There are simple cases, of course, but there are also very, very complex cases. From a mathematical perspective, in complex insurance policies, there are sometimes more than 10,000 different routes to a simple yes or no. Do you approve that claim? It's beyond my perception that I would be able to think of 10,000 different routes through an insurance policy. And you can imagine it like a big logic tree of if this, then that. And it's incredibly hard to model that, and even harder for a human to think about that. We now have technology that is able to do that for us. And what we're after is actually more consistent, more intelligent, and more accurate decision making at a claim level. So at the moment, it's still largely manual. It's still, I wouldn't call it inconsistent in all cases. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But there's certainly inconsistency built into the process. The same facts are not always yielding the same outcome of approve or deny. There are also further calculations around excess, cap, liability, deductible, which can also be complicated in certain cases. And you have changes in adjusters and assessors cycling through the ecosystem of insurance all the time. So you have this knowledge that comes in with one person and leaves with another. How is it that you can create a central intelligence and brain for your insurance company, for your brokerage, or even as a third-party administrator? How do you capture all of that knowledge and ensure greater consistency and speed when you're making decisions? We also don't have much of an audit trail. So we do have systems of record and claims processing frameworks that we use so we can manually input what's happening. We can audit if a system is being used in a particular way, and there are logs to this degree. But a lot of the time, the thinking and the reasoning in every single step around how a claim is decided is sometimes not captured in granular detail. And this creates a huge risk exposure, ironically, for the insurance companies, particularly when they need to submit documents to the regulator. I know this becomes crunch time towards the end of the year, and it puts the executives in particular at the insurance company who need to sign off on these documents in a position where they need to be absolutely certain that what they're signing off on is accurate and the processes that have been followed internally have been sound and that everything has been documented correctly. We then have a lot of pressure coming from the regulators at the moment. So we look at the regulators themselves, and then we also have the legislation which is promulgated pursuant to these regulations that govern the entire ecosystem. So for example, we have POPIA, we have the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. We also have various financial pieces of legislation, and they all talk to what is required when making claims. Now, this is in the previous state. We now have a shift towards automated decision making and accountability. And even in the absence of AI, how is it that we're able to prove that a decision was made fairly, that it was accurate, that it wasn't biased? And this applies whether it's a human agent or whether it's an AI agent. So this is currently where we stand in the overall ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about what's possible today. And I will go into a lot of visuals, a lot of videos that you can see so that we can contextualize this a little bit more. But let's talk about what's possible. We now live in a world, as you saw in the beginning, and as I will demonstrate further, where you can have end-to-end claims processing right from first notification of loss all the way through to payment, done in under 2 minutes. And in some cases faster, in some cases a little bit longer, but on average in under 2 minutes. This is what's possible. And of course, there are complexities, and we'll dig into that later around where humans are required in the process. Or even if you can automate in 2 minutes, Do you want a machine to do that instead of having a human there to assist the insured person through their moment of trauma or their moment of stress? And we'll talk about the intersection of both and how you can balance them when providing services to the customer. We can now do automated document ingestion and extraction using a combination of vision models as well as LLMs, depending on the use case, to really contextualize what the claims are about. We can do real-time policy coverage checks. So that's obviously your basic coverage checks, which are relatively simple and can be automated in a lot of cases. Is this person insured with us? Was it within the coverage period? Et cetera, et cetera. And then there's also the more complex decisioning behind that, which is looking at the GICs in relation to the peril and deciding on the facts whether or not coverage is actually provided to the insured person. And then we have the ability to fully reconstruct every single one of these decisions and show you exactly how it was made in a tamper-proof way so that nobody can interfere with the record. And this is an exciting time. My background is actually as a lawyer. I practiced for many years in corporate and commercial law, and I was obsessed with contracts. I just enjoyed them. I know for many of you that may sound disgusting and you hate reading them and they're very long, and they did become tedious for me as well. But there are parts of contract law which fascinated me. And we now have a technology that enables us to interpret complex terms and conditions in very extensive contracts and always come to what the right answer would be based on the facts that you've been given. And that for me is very, very, very far gone from where I was when I was practicing law more than 10 years ago. And this is an exciting time. Let's first start off with a distinction between what they refer to as black box AI versus governed AI. Black box, quite simple. Imagine the AI is operating, but you cannot see inside the box. You have no idea what it's doing. To a degree, think of using ChatGPT or using Claude. There are logs and there are ways to investigate further, but let's say for the average user of those tools, you don't really understand exactly what has happened behind each of those calls. So if you're asked, how was the model prompted? Which version of the model was used? Which subjectivities, biases, prejudices were built into that answer? Which corpus of information was it trained on? Was it trained in the language that I'm familiar with? Was it trained in the language that is relative to the query? All of these things are very opaque in a lot of cases when it comes to the use of AI. And it makes decisioning, or at least the lineage relating to decisioning, very scary. And I think this is part of the apprehension that we feel around why it is that AI, can we trust it? Can we really make sure that it's correct? It hallucinates. And I find that quite funny. Many people always talk about AI hallucinates and come to the wrong answers. Humans can hallucinate too, and we have done for a long time. You have your own subjectivities, biases, a stressful day, a period where you're not feeling at your best or haven't had a good night's sleep. You can come to the wrong decision as well. That is by no means advocating that we should therefore blindly trust what AI is doing. It's simply to say the playing field is level to some degree, and we're doing absolutely everything we can to give transparency to this so-called black box. So auditability is weak, and it's very difficult to pin accountability. So who is at fault here? For example, if there is a mistake, is it the model? Is it the frontier AI company, the Anthropics of this world, the OpenAIs of this world, the Perplexities of this world? Or is it the human that could review that decision and decided either to approve it or overturned a correct decision that the AI actually made? So it's a very complex and nuanced world that we're currently living in. What governed AI looks like by comparison is a world of reconstructible decisions where you can replay everything, where you can simulate various different outcomes. We now have technologies that can take 1 million different agents and apply them to a single problem, and each of them has been prompted differently. And what that does is mathematically, it allows you to get to an answer which is even more probabilistically correct than if you were only using one agent. So it simulates 1 million different outcomes and tells you what is the most likely across 1 million. So we have very interesting technology at our fingertips that we're able to use. We can also combine this with very traditional programmatic or deterministic software software infrastructure where it's your classic logic tree of if this, then that. And the combination of the two is actually really powerful. In other words, you use AI for orchestration and for execution, and then you use the deterministic trees to ensure that everything is no longer probabilistic but deterministic in nature. And if you attach an audit trail to that, you have a really solid foundation for making correct decisions when using AI. Everything should be traceable, and obviously this becomes operationally defensible, as I mentioned previously, obviously de-risking this exposure for the insurance companies. So what does autonomous claims decision actually look like in practice? We'll have a look at a few examples, and I'll take you through a typical claims process from end to end, and I'll show you what's practically possible in different environments. Okay, so let's start off with the first step in the process, which is your customer wants to submit their claim. Why is it that they should have to go onto a portal, phone in? And by the way, I'm not saying that customers don't want to phone in and have a human there, but why is it that they can't go on, be told exactly which documents they need to submit them, and live, right there, be told whether or not you have sufficient details for your claim? Not 14 days from now, or 7 days from now, or 5 days, or 3 days from now, we'll get back to you and let you know. Live, a live interaction. Think of Uber. When Uber introduced the map to show you where your vehicle was and when it was arriving, it didn't change how fast the vehicle was coming. All it did was change your experience of waiting. And that's what's possible today. You can now submit a claim in under 2 minutes, as you've seen on screen, and in some cases a lot faster. So you upload the documents, everything is extracted, it's pre-populated into a claim form and contextualized. The customer or insured person reads and makes sure that they agree with what they're submitting, and they click submit. There's an agentic version of this as well, which is not always useful in every situation, but where you go on and you have a chat interaction. Hi, my name is Ruben. I was in a car accident. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Ruben. Please submit the following documents. Oh, we're missing this piece. Interestingly enough, AI is not always the best way to solve this. In other words, a click-through process, like what you've just seen on screen, is often more efficient than engaging with an AI where you actually have to chat and type on your keyboard. So again, selective use of AI depending on the particular use case. So this is how you can improve your customer journey. And I'm fully aware many insurance companies have online submission forms, but to what degree have they automated that to really think about the customer experience and how they can make it seamless to say, I actually enjoy submitting claims because it's always such a pleasure when it comes to the insurer. Moving on, once the claim enters the system, we then look at things like triaging and steering. And what you're seeing on screen at the moment is multiple different ingestion channels. We've got the online form, we've got road accident insurance, we've got the contact center, you've got apps provided by the insurance companies. How can you dynamically triage these to the different divisions within your broker, within your insurer, or within your TPA? But more importantly than that, because I'm fully aware triaging has been around for some time, a lot of the time it's still manual, but it can now be automated. But more so than that, can you do it dynamically? Can we do it in such a way where we look at which of your claim adjusters or assessors is busy at the moment, who has a higher degree of expertise, who's away on leave, and can we allocate always to the best person to solve that job at that particular time instead of having to have a human decide that? Very often it's a judgment call made by a human, but we can code that into the reasoning of the AI agent, alternatively into a set of rules that allows you to triage effectively. The next thing I want to look at is claim decisioning itself. And at the beginning, you saw one version of it, which is a co-pilot or claim pilot sitting alongside an assessor. But there's also what happens in the background, which is an automated assessment where the AI doesn't need to be prompted to do something, but on the trigger of an ingestion point, such as receiving the claim, it automatically starts to look at the claim. So as you can see with the example on screen, it's ingested all of the documents, it's classified all of them, it's extracted all of the data, it's conducted a fraud analysis, it's screened for coverage, it's looking at the policy rules at the moment. It's flagged things to look at, like the VIN number is a mismatch for the vehicle. There's a mismatch on the odometer reading. Perhaps the last time the vehicle was brought in, the mileage was higher than it is now, which could be an indicator for fraud. And it's actually come to a decision in under 2 minutes as to whether or not this claim should be approved or denied. And it's given you a reason for it. So, for example, it's told you that the claimed part is not insured under the policy, so you shouldn't pay it out. The next thing we should look at is the extraction of data, and this is really, really important. Imagine if every single invoice or document that you ever received as an insurer or a broker could be turned into a database, contextualized, and then possibly even monetized. What we now have is the ability to look at every single item on an invoice and extract it with a great level of detail. And as you can see with the example on screen, you no longer have to page through documents and documents to find where a specific fact or piece of information sits within a document. Your eye is automatically taken to it because we've been able to identify where it was extracted from the document. You can also include or exclude coverage based on the policy in place. And instead of having to print it out and perhaps manually mark it off with a red line, we now have technology that allows you to do that actively on the document. So we're obviously reducing the use of paper and we're increasing the digitization of this entire process. Let's now look at fraud. Since, let's say, the broad adoption of AI tools and particularly generative AI, fraud in insurance has increased by more than 1,000% according to most of the studies that I've read. This is incredible. Fraud in insurance is now at an all-time high, and it means that the technology that the insurance companies use needs to be of an equivalent standard that we feel as though we're getting good coverage or at least good signal when it comes to identifying fraud. As you can see on the right-hand side, this document is looking at PDF signatures, metadata, logo refactoring, source consistency. It's looking at the format to see if it looks similar to what we've seen before. It's looking for consistency in the amounts. It's doing arithmetic checks. It's looking to see if the parts to labor ratio is what you would expect or if there are anomalies. It also allows you to benchmark which one of your providers is charging more or less for a particular service. We have document checks. We also have claim checks. So not only at a document level, but looking, do the dates across the entire claim make sense? Does the arithmetic across the entire claim make sense? Is there duplication that we've picked up in the documents? Is there matching for VIN numbers? Is there matching for templates? And then finally, from an organizational perspective, and also from a network perspective, here we're looking at things like, are some of your assessors over or underpaying or over or under providing coverage on claims that have the same set of facts? Very interesting, because now you can do live QA. Instead of having a quality assurance session once per month or once per quarter or once per year, where everybody gets brought into the same training, for example, how to make better decisions on motor claims, you can now do it on a person-by-person basis. You can see how long they're interacting with claims. You can see the minutiae of overpayment or underpayment. You can see where they've made errors in reasoning, and you can train all of your staff to do the things that they enjoy, the critical reasoning, and upskill them properly, and not just give blanket training when it comes to all staff and trying to improve everything across the board. As you'll see on screen, we're also able to look at your network of providers. Huge benefit when it comes to reducing your loss ratio or expense ratio. So you can now see which one of your network providers, it could be a garage, it could be a craftsman, it could be a plumber, is charging what for what services. What is their average turnaround time? How do you dynamically allocate to those service providers to be there at the time of need for the insured person? How do you make sure that they're not only getting the best service, but that you as the insurer are paying out less on that claim because you're able to allocate to someone more cost effective with an equivalent level of service provision? So these are all very interesting things. And we even have network intelligence now. In other words, if customers opt in, you can even tell them if a similar document appears at another insurance company, which is obviously a very clear indicator of a double submission and potential fraud. And these are some of the other benefits that we're seeing in relation to the fraud piece. This is a significant boost and probably the easiest way to show ROI for an insurer. If you can remove 1% of claim payouts per year, there's all the budget you need to move forward with an AI project related to fraud and fraud detection. Moving on, we now look at the customer communication part, where we have tools that can contextualize an entire claim for you. So we can look at every single piece of information. We have various language options. We could include Afrikaans, we can include Zulu, for example. And here we've got English, German, French, and Italian. And it contextualizes the whole claim, rights to the policyholder. This can all be white labeled. It can be put onto your letterheads. It can be automatically sent to your draft items in your inbox. And it really is a fast way, instead of having to communicate with your customers all the time on, or at least the assessors having to go every single time into the file to refamiliarize themselves with what's happened. This does it in a way that is always consistent for the customer. So let's look quickly at the intersection between AI systems and humans and where we believe that there's a good balance to be had between both of them. We refer to it as governed autonomy. In other words, the agents can go off and do their thing, but they have very specific guardrails within which they need to work to ensure that they're deployed safely and properly. So we have AI doing all of the repetitive tasks, all of the admin work, all of the low-risk work, the orchestration, producing audit trails and making sure compliance is in place. And then you have humans there for the softer touch, for the escalation, for the ambiguous situations, for the subjective nature of certain claims, ultimate accountability depending on the nature of the claim, obviously, and then handling these edge cases and exceptions with the customer in a way that says the insurer is actually here for you and we haven't just processed your claim because it's cheap to do it with AI. And I think this balance is quite important. At the beginning of the presentation, we ran through a request from a regulator about the motor vehicle claim that had been processed. What I want to do is quickly run you through what good evidence and documentation looks like if the regulator ever comes knocking and asks you, how did you make a particular claim using AI? So the first thing is you need a good cover letter, a good cover story. You need to be able to show the regulator what the basis of the claim was. Was it a short term? Was it life insurance? Which particular pieces of regulation were applicable at that time, and basically how was the claim decided in general terms? Was AI used? Was a human used? Was there any fraud that was detected, etc.? And you'll see we give references to the various pieces of legislation or regulations that would be applicable for this particular portion of the dossier that you create. We then look at the audit trail. This is showing who made the decision, human or machine. How did it make the decision? How was it prompted? How many tokens were used to make this decision? Everything is cryptographically hashed so that it's tamper-proof, and everything is time-stamped as well. So you've got a perfect chronology of exactly when different things happened throughout the course of the claim. We then have data provenance. So we want to know, where did the data come from? Was it telematics? Was it photographs? Was it PDF documents? Was it video? Is it the insurance policy? Did you pull from your policy center? Was there a telephone conversation which was recorded in a transcript? What was the corpus of evidence that was used in order to decide the claim itself? We then look at the basis for coverage. So this is now going to a line level, sometimes even including jurisprudence and case law, looking at how particular matters are decided, and particularly looking at which clauses within the contract were invoked in order to come to that decision, which is also partially covered here under the automated decision making. There are sections in relation to POPIA as well as the ECTA, which require you to show the manner in which all of these decisions were made and to show what was automated and what was not, giving the human the possibility to opt out and actually only have this decided by a human. All of this needs to be very carefully built into your process so that you don't end up in a black box situation, which increases your risk as an insurance company. And then finally, you have to have a human authority that oversaw the claim. It's not always necessary, depending on the risk profile of the claim, but particularly for higher risk claims, for larger amounts, for claims which relate more to personal matters as opposed to commercial matters, for example. Is there the option that the human had the option to review the matter? Did they make the final approval? And can you validly stand by that and not just say that we took the recommendation from the software that was provided and rubber stamped it? Did the human actually have an opportunity to look through that and say that this makes sense contextually? And this also comes back to training of the systems before you deploy it in a live environment. These are all sorts of things that you need to consider. And as we wrap up, just to let you know, the future of claims is not coming. It's already here. I've mentioned this, the technology is here. Insurance companies are moving this way. Every major insurance carrier in Europe and most of the major ones we see in South Africa already have dedicated AI teams and departments. The question is not whether or not you can make decisions fast and in an automated way. It's whether or not you can make decisions that you can trust and defend with the use of these new technologies. And I mentioned before, being a lawyer, it's now a very interesting space where if you believe in a world where decisions, claims, judgments, court cases are no longer subject to person subjectivities, they're no longer subject to how expensive your lawyer is or how much you pay your lawyer. Imagine a world where everything is governed only on the merits, from insurance claims all the way to legal cases. This is a really, really interesting proposition, and it's a very interesting time to be involved in this space. This concept of scalable trust, as I call it, is something which really inspires me, and I hope that we can move towards this intersection between AI and humans in a way that actually improves the quality of life for many, many people. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present today. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you would like to get in touch, I would welcome this. Carl obviously already mentioned that the Q&A wouldn't be answered live. I'll try get a hold of those Q&A questions and answer them specifically. But if you'd want to reach out to me, please do so on LinkedIn. You can scan the code or you can send me an email. And I look forward to interacting with everyone in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that really enlightening chat, Ruben. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a very lacquer and clear presentation, and your South Africanism genuinely shone through there. But what I particularly enjoyed is that you aren't talking about replacing humans or removing humanity from the claims process. Quite the opposite. I think you're showing us how AI and technology can help us as humans be clearer, better, faster, more accurate, more consistent. And making sure that the transparency, the governance, and the trust remain at the center of the claims process. And I particularly enjoyed your example around the fraud detection, and as you rightfully pointed out, just that savings potentially for an underwriter makes any investment from an AI perspective worth it. So, to my mind, the technology that you're speaking about and that TrueAim has developed is genuinely impressive. And I think it's also wonderful that a Swiss-based company with funding from the Swiss government, because of the exceptional work and technology that you use, that you're taking the South African market so seriously. So Ruben is often in South Africa, as he mentioned, very keen to engage and chat. So share your thoughts, questions, and Ruben will get back to you with any more information that you might require. Thank you very much, Ruben, for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you and your team from TrueAim around more of the South African insurance functions and events, because we know how passionate you are about the industry. So thank you very, very much. So now from claims innovation to marketing myths. Our next speaker is Christo Crawford. And Christo and I have known each other for, scarily, for about 3 decades. We first met when we were new in our careers in insurance, me even newer than Christo, at Hollard. We were much younger, of course, and frankly, much thinner, both of us. We also once performed a rock song together in purple unitards, but that's a story for another day, and it's probably legally sealed for me to talk about it anyway. Today, though, Christo joins us as a seasoned financial services executive, entrepreneur, and change agent. And he has decades of experience, leadership experience across global insurers, underwriting management, and insurtech ventures. He has served as a CEO and held senior roles at the highest level of the South African insurance industry. And Christo's role has also taken him beyond South Africa, including launching new business initiatives for Hollard in India and China over the years. And because Christo is not one dimensional, his entrepreneurial journey has included things beyond insurance, from pioneering food trucks in South Africa, Johannesburg, driving industry changing platforms such as Broker Edge and the soon to be launched Gap Zero. So Christo brings, deep experience in digital transformation. He is a little bit anally retentive, so compliance-ready technology is always important for him. He really is passionate about business process automation, and his passion is empowering brokers, the intermediaries, with scalable solutions. Christo's topic today is the biggest marketing myths in history, and I've no doubt that it will be both entertaining, informative, and help us in our jobs and roles going forward. A big welcome to you, Christo, and over to you. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Coral. One never knows quite what to expect with the introduction from Coral, but thank you for the kind words. I suspect Coral's leaving this snide comments for after my talk when I can't respond to them. But it's wonderful to be in. I have to say, if I ran the Comrades and I had to get to the finish line and find Coral there in a suit and tie, I would turn around immediately and run back, not even crossing the finish line, because I would definitely suspect a glitch in the matrix, or the night of the body snatchers, or even possibly China finally cloning the man we know can do everything, but he's always in different places at the same time. Be it as it may. Thank you very much. I wasn't spared the flu that's doing the rounds, but it's great to be here today. And let me start by sharing. There, I hope you can
All good.
see. Thank you very much. So, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Adele Davies made this phrase, "Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper," popular, cementing breakfast's reputation as essential. John Harvey Kellogg joined in to promote cornflakes, and soon others jumped on the bandwagon with "Eat a good breakfast, do a better job." And things like "skipping breakfast will cause weight gain," or "cereal is a healthy start to your day." From a fringe idea, it became mainstream belief, not through science, but through marketing campaigns designed to sell cereal. Today, we know that it's a myth, it's a fallacy. But even the most robust science, some of it scientists even won Nobel Prizes for, has not been able to debunk it. Diamonds are forever. This was one of the most successful marketing campaigns and myths in history. De Beers, in 1947, transformed diamonds from luxury rocks into symbols of eternal love and commitment. It permanently linked engagement rings and with diamonds to love and romance and this concept of forever. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, De Beers hired Eyre and Sons to reignite the desire for diamonds and not just sell a product. Francis Garrity coined the term, "A diamond is forever." 4 words that became and was recognized as the most famous advertising slogan of the 20th century. And they threw the kitchen sink at this one. Emotional branding, positioning it as symbols of eternal love, permanence, and commitment. Hollywood ties-ins with the likes of Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor. I see on the slide Marilyn's gone a bit squint, but that's what you get using AI. She's actually looking right, but please ignore that. And then cultural engineering, stories placed in magazines and newspapers targeting at normalizing diamond rings for the middle class. There was even a 2-month salary rule as to how much you should be spending, declaring your love before getting married. It was a cultural coup. Diamonds, the campaign didn't just sell diamonds, it sold the idea of forever and embedding diamonds in the fabric of marriage and romance. Although De Beers was a South African company, this was very much an international myth and fallacy that they've created. But then our local, proudly South African, biggest myth of all times, cut out the middleman. In South Africa, this myth was heavily marketed by direct insurers, promising cheaper premiums by bypassing brokers. In reality, brokers save clients money and protect them from risk exposure, while the direct insurers spend heavily on marketing and passing those costs back to consumers. In the late 80s, early 90s, with marketing slogans like "Go direct and save," and direct insurance positioned brokers as redundant and unnecessary, only adding unnecessary middleman cost. We all know that this is a fallacy. Brokers have expertise. They undergo mandatory training and understand complex underwriting, policy wordings, compliance requirements, and act as risk specialists. There is no extra cost for brokers. Commission is regulated and it's included in premiums. Brokers provide claim support by assisting clients navigate claims and ensuring payouts are fair and timely. And brokers can help with risk management. There's a risk in believing this myth, and that is that you're underinsured or you have no cover for specific risks. In fact, a broker is the insurance on your insurance. Brokers also help with the complexity of policy wording and exclusions, which is often misunderstood by policyholders. And as I said, it's a false saving to cut out the middleman. And when it comes to claims disputes, without the broker's advocacy, consumers face delays and rejections. As far back as 2006, FA News reported sometimes cutting out the middleman just leaves a big gaping hole. And the Insurance Broker Council warned against the gross misleading of insurance consumers in 2007 at the annual IISA insurance conference. Looking at the definition of a myth, which is a widely believed but false idea, and a fallacy, which is a flawed argument on false logic that people accept as true, I actually opt to call the cut out the middleman fallacy a con, a clever persuasion, manipulation, or marketing spin that sits behind deception. And I would go so far as to say that it's a scam, outright dishonest. So, no more. We're taking a stand. We're taking our power back. The solution is promoting the broker, the independent broker, and exposing the fallacy. Over a decade ago, visionary broker Craig Tunbridge started on a lone quest to promote why use a broker. Last year, myself joined this mission to stand up for the value of brokers. Many of you contribute to the industry through industry bodies like FIA and your participation there. For me, this is the way to take a stand and help the industry. By starting Broker Edge as a way out and contributing. What we are doing here is aligned and complementary to promoting independence brokers, similar to what FA News, the FIA, and others in the industry is doing. Gabby Schultz joined Broker Edge at the start of this year to lead the mission, and it has now started to become a revolution. We solemnly believe that having a broker on your side will beat dealing with directly with call centers every single time. Relationships always comes out trumps, especially in the short-term insurance space. Last year, I joined TWK Insurance, a company I'm very proud to be associated with. But joining the broker side of the business again highlighted and underlined for me the challenges independent brokers face, and made all the issues even more real. It is time that brokers speak with one voice and get back the collective strategic advantage of the general public knowing and understanding the value that brokers bring. So now, imagine brokers, sorry, back to the independent. So just quickly taking you through my experience being back at brokers and what I've seen over many, many years in the industry. Being a broker isn't easy. In a recent FA News survey, the operational pressures of brokers' experience were highlighted. Compliance requirements, keeping up with change, generating new business, and managing cost came out as some of the top worries and concerns brokers have to deal with. The clients out there are not ignoring you. They're bombarded with direct advertising, onslaught of billboards and TV adverts. Part of the FA News survey showed that clients, policyholders, do not understand the value that brokers bring. It was ranked second on criteria of where's the biggest gap between brokers and the public. First being industries not promoting it consistently, and followed by the direct insurers dominating messaging and brokers not communicating strongly themselves. Brokers simply do not have the time, skills, and resources to spend a lot of time on promoting themselves. Compliance have taken over our lives. And that's why we started Broker Edge as a movement to advocate the value of using a broker. Starting with compliant content that's ready to use for brokers in their social media, on their websites, in their newsletters. Not only educating on insurance concepts, but each and every interaction advocating for the value of brokers, explaining what brokers bring to the insurance process. And we want brokers to participate, get on board. We all love being individual and being independent, but jointly we can start a movement. Now imagine thousands of brokers communicating the same consistent message to the market. It is time that we take our power back. So we'll be providing content that brokers can use on websites, social media, will be compliant, signed off for compliance, generating campaigns to educate the public on using a broker, and building a new community that is stronger together. Together we have a louder voice. And we hope that you will join this movement. More engaged clients, it means more business and definitely more retention, which is one of the most important things for any broker. Today, I'm here to call you to action, to join the movement, and join thousands of other brokers on one mission: to advocate together, to educate and to elevate. Please join us and gain the edge that every independent broker needs. So Broker Edge launches officially in July. We have a website up and running where you can note your interest, expression of interest, and this will allow us to not only keep you updated, but provide you with some initial free content to use to promote your brokerage. And then for you to become an official founding member when we launch in July. So visit us and please register your interest and then join the movement. But content is just the first step of many things that we will be bringing to the community. Another thing is real solutions around efficiency in the brokerage. We'd not only like to provide content, but support brokers with services and products that will make their lives more efficient, easier, quicker. And as Carl said in the beginning, always being more compliant in everything that we do. For that reason, we would like to introduce today, first in South Africa, to this community, a product called RIA. RIA is a way to generate a record of advice in a few minutes that is compliant and will save everyone an incredible amount of time. Sorry, I'm just doing some navigating here. So, fast, efficient, and at a fraction of the cost of doing it manually. We all know the pain of generating records of advice, and it can take an incredible amount of time. Now, with a site where you can drop a voicemail, a voice message, documents, a note, various forms of that documentation of that interaction with a client, RIA will provide you in a few minutes a compliant record of advice the client can sign that can go onto record, and the client and yourself can carry on with your life, knowing that compliance is taken care of in a quick, easy fashion. If you sign up today, I'll provide a link and also in the comments of the Google form. You'd be able to get access to not only the demo site, but five free record of advice transactions so that you can play with it and get to know and learn how it works. Here I've just shown you the top and tail of the site. On the left-hand side, you drop a voicemail, a note, there's various for email, and it generates on the right the record of advice. It covers the 8 essential points. You can generate a record of advice for new policies, renewals, amendments, and telephonic advice. And the document that it feeds back is ready for the client to sign and for you to put on record on your policy admin system. This is not something provided by Broker Edge. It is Africa Bloom. It is someone many of you would know, Tuli Pinar, but we are proud to make this available to the industry in order to improve every broker's life, in order to add to the community that we're busy building. If and when you fill out the form, the Google form, to register for this, you'll get 5 free record of advices. Nothing is required, and there's information, including Tuli's contact details, as to how to take that further. This is just one of the functions that and tools that we will be bringing and introducing via Broker Edge. So please visit our website today, register your interest, and qualify to become a founding member. And we look forward to updating you on that going forward. I'd like to just show you this because I'm a visual person.
For years, the loudest voices have controlled the conversation. But power is never given away. It's taken away. Not by better advice, not by better protection, but by bigger advertising budgets. Consumers were taught insurance is about price until something goes wrong. But what if brokers stopped speaking alone? What if thousands of brokers communicated with one clear voice? Broker Edge gives brokers the power to educate, communicate, and stay visible through professional, compliant content branded as their own. Creating a community of independent brokers standing together, speaking with one powerful voice. Because brokers were never the expensive part of insurance. They were always the valuable part. Collective, strategic advantage for independent brokers. Visit www.brokeredge.co.za for more.
So please join us in this mission, in this new revolution in the independent broker space, so that we can advocate together, educate together, elevate together, and together we'll create value for you as a broker. I'm very excited about all the positive comments that I see coming through. It means there is a application for this, and I can see that staff at brokerages and brokers themselves are eager to save time, become part of something bigger. So please join the revolution. The future is, the slide says ours, it's yours, and it's ours together. And I look forward to you joining us on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Christo, and lots of debate and controversy. So direct insurers certainly not happy with some of those comments. Some of the brokers not happy, adding costs and commissions not increasing. Others worried that AI is going to take over and hoping retirement comes soon. And others thinking this is the best thing ever. And I think that's part of the point of InsureTalk, is to present different opinions, different perspectives, give the community the information to help ultimately all of us better serve our clients. So whether you agreed with Christo and the team's views or not, some fascinating information and good food for thought. So thank you very much for joining us, Christo. And Christo will be answering some of the questions, and the website address and other details have been shared in the chat as well. Next up is our association partner, the FIA, and we are going to hear from the CEO, Lizelle. As always, the FIA continues to focus on the intermediary, to engage with regulators, with government, with brokers, both independent, national, international, and Lizelle and her team really are just focused on ensuring that intermediaries have the best tools available to them to service their clients. Always a lot happening at the FIA, and let's hear from Lizelle the latest news from them.
Thank you, InsureTalk, for inviting the FIA to make a short contribution to this leading platform. Last year, our campaign challenged members and the industry to imagine a world without the FIA. By removing letters from our name, we highlighted something powerful. Financial advisors and brokers are absent. Clients lose trusted advice, businesses lose guidance, and the financial services industry loses a vital voice. This year, we're turning our focus to the future. A proven past, a powerful future. For decades, the FIA has championed professional advice, advocated for the intermediary sector, and helped members navigate change, uncertainty, and opportunity. Our history is more than a record of what we've achieved. It's the foundation on which we build what comes next. As our industry stands at a strategic crossroads, the role of the financial advisor and brokers has never been more important. The challenges are evolving, client expectations are shifting, and the technology is transforming the way we work. Yet one thing remains constant: the need for trusted professionals who put the client's needs first. Our proven past gives us the credibility, experience, and resilience to shape a powerful future, not only for our members, but for the consumers, businesses, and communities that we serve every day. Together, we honor where we have come from and embrace where we are going. Because the future of advice is not something that happens to us. It's something we continuously create. So what are we doing with this privilege right now? COFI is coming. Cabinet approved submission of the COFI bill to Parliament in March. We anticipate public comment will open in July. We've pushed hard for a minimum 90-day window because we require time to respond meaningfully to legislation that will reshape this entire industry. We will keep our members updated. I'm also pleased to advise that members of the FIA are investing in the future of the broker profession in a very practical way. The FIA, SASRIA, and the IISA have come together on a broker development program, placing unemployed young people into real industry environments, earning accredited qualifications, and building a genuine skills pipeline for the broker profession. When professional bodies, trade associations, and insurers come together, the real impact happens. And this is exactly the kind of initiative that the FIA's legacy demands. And then there's the insurance apprentice. Congratulations to Karabo Moshego on winning the Insurance Apprentice 2026. Her words really resonated with me. The future of risk advisory lies entirely on the trust we build and the ability to help clients navigate complex, uncertain environments with confidence. Over the years, I've been watching TIA evolve, and the contestants show up, speak up, run podcasts, and have real conversations about the future of this profession. It is genuinely inspiring. Well done to Rianette and her incredible production team. I'm a very proud ambassador of this industry. For those of our members or non-members who are interested in a detailed update on what the FIA is busy with right now that is impacting on your business, please get in touch with the FIA. Thank you.
Thank you very much for updating us on the activities at the FIA, Lizelle. We always appreciate it, and useful that you mentioned the insurance apprentice, because that is indeed our next slot. Rianette from FA News, as you know, is the main driver behind this, and this is an initiative that I think everybody in the industry is hugely proud of, and it's been going for a number of years. And we are delighted that next up we have last year's winner, and they are going to be chatting to this year's winner. So Kaya and Karabo are going to be, I think, demonstrating why the winners of the Insurance Apprentice, and in fact everybody that takes part, are such an exciting part of our industry. Resilience, intelligence, EQ, IQ, lots of strategy, all comes together as they battle it out to be the Insurance Apprentice. And you'll certainly see from these two phenomenal leaders from currently working at OMI and Aon, just what it takes to be the insurance apprentice. So over to you guys. We look forward to your interview and chat and sharing your experiences with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, there can only be one insurance apprentice, and the winner of the Insurance Apprentice 2026 is Karabo Masheko! Karabo Masheko, congratulations, girl. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We officially have our Insurance Apprentice 2026 as our winner embarks on this amazing new journey as the Insurance Apprentice 2026. It is time to say goodbye. It has absolutely been amazing. I am absolutely inspired by every single one of you. You've gone through a lot, and you're all winners, and the ultimate crown is definitely yours, Karabo. You guys have been amazing. What an honor. My name is Tapelo Mukwena. I'll see you next time. Salute.
What a phenomenal bout, and what a phenomenal show and a platform. Congratulations, Karabo, again. Thank you so much for Carl at InsureTalk. Thank you, Lizelle, for those kind words. Karabo, absolutely phenomenal. What a journey.
Thank you so much, Kaya. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the journey, and I'm very excited. And thank you to everyone for such kind words. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Phenomenal. Karabo, I've got a couple of just interesting questions for you around, your journey in the Insurance Apprentice. Not forgetting, the phenomenal kind of character that you showed throughout the entirety of the show. When your name was announced as the winner, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
I can't even express it, but I'd like to turn this around, Kai, if you're comfortable with that. I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'm actually going to interview you. Seeing that you walked the journey and now we are here.
Yeah.
When you heard your name last year and you were in my seat, how did it feel and how has the journey been so far for you?
I think it was such a phenomenal kind of moment, in the trajectory of my career.
Mm,
It was not only something that marked recognition, prestige, etc. It was something that actually marked, a milestone within my personal kind of journey as well as personal goals and aspirations. It was something that I couldn't dream of in my wildest dreams. And what it has brought me, or what the Insurance Apprentice platform has kind of brought my way, has been really mentorship that has grounded me, that has brought about substantial unearthing of the potential that Rianet, the team, the judges, the sponsors saw in, last year's competition as well as this year's competition. This platform continues to be such a phenomenal kind of door into, the potential that exists within the insurance industry.
I think
Karabo,
that was
I
the
have, yeah, sure,
sorry.
you could go.
I've got a few more questions. I
Sure.
know I'm turning this around, but I think I'm more curious because now you've walked that journey. I mean, for the past 12 months, you've done it all. And for me, it's important for someone to know what the journey actually entails. I can't speak much of it, and hence why I want to hear from you so that I can also capitalize on it. What opportunities have come from the last 12 months from winning TIA? If you look back, what is it that you have gained that you can say, Karabo, this is what you can look forward to?
I think, again, you can look forward to the tremendous kind of network of support that you will be surrounded by in the context of this competition or post the competition as the winner. I would think, not even just as the winner, as top 10, really, that you are able to kind of harness this network, this massive network that you have now that you are at the forefront of industry kind of recognizing the potential that you have. So for me, a lot of opportunities that I could speak of have been, sitting in the same room with those who are sitting at the helms of industry, people who have been in the game for 20 plus years and really sitting under their wisdom, sitting under their knowledge, sitting under their experience. It has been an eye opener for a young person such as myself. And I have the Insurance Apprentice to thank for that, given their slogan, educate, elevate, and empower.
And if you could go back to the night that you won, what advice would you give to yourself for the year ahead?
I would say make the tough calls, make the tough decisions,
Mm,
be able to stand your ground in terms of saying no to certain opportunities that might not lead you down the path that you want to chart for yourself. I think
mm,
being resolute, I think being extremely, extremely clear on
mm.
what it is that I want would be the first thing that I would say to myself. Because again, the competition within such a short span of time is it almost composes you. It almost pulls you back into a recluse if you are not able to translate the things that you wish to be clear about, because of the attention, because everyone is chopping at you and wants a piece of you. You have a tendency possibly of getting a little bit sidetracked. But other than that, I mean, it's a phenomenal opportunity to really seize what it is that the insurance industry has to offer.
And how do you think you've grown as a person, as a leader, professionally in the past year?
I've had the opportunity to self-introspect. I've had the opportunity to be, again, in rooms with people who are bigger than me, not only professionally, personally, etc., who have gone through the ebbs and the flows in terms of, their careers personally, etc. And I've been privileged to harness that wisdom from them and apply it as knowledge, the knowledge that I gained from them, apply it within my personal life, and it has assisted me in ways that you cannot imagine. Again, a platform and a catalyst such as the Insurance Apprentice has brought about the door. And the question, I think I said it on TIA Talks last year, is what is it that you do with the opportunity? How do you seize the opportunity that has been platformed to you in order for you to rise to the next level, to rise to greatness that the industry has kind of seen in you. So I think from a professional, a leadership, as well as a personal perspective, it has really opened my doors and again beckoned me to climb the mountains and the vistas that exist out there, because you sometimes do get disarrayed in this journey of falling and standing up and falling and trying again. But this nod from the industry, from the sponsors, from the supporters, from the network has been something that has been phenomenal, and it has really beckoned and drawn me out into the next level that I need to go to.
Ah, I love that. Sorry, I took over your interview as you
Not a
were.
problem. Not a problem. I mean, you are the reigning queen of the Insurance Apprentice. Again, congratulations, Karabo. And going back, I guess, to my maybe not original question, but just in a different way, framed in a different way. I mean, there were many, many talented contestants throughout the season. And if you look back, what ultimately made the difference for you?
I think it was a very tough season. This season was mind blowing to say the least. I mean, the people I was going up against are amazing. I think what stood out or what made me stand out was my EQ. And the manner in which I carried myself. I think I was not engulfed in the drama. And for me, it was about what I'm there to do and what the task at hand. It was always about the end goal for me. I made an example in one of the interviews that it's like driving a car. You'll have other cars on the side, you'll have things happening, but it's about driving your car. If you focus on the other cars and you want to hoot, it's going to derail you so much that you're going to lose sight of where you're going. So for me, it was about where I'm going, and whatever was happening around me it was a matter of managing it as opposed to trying to be a part of it.
100%. That is such, phenomenal reflections from your journey of the Insurance Apprentice. And I think this falls and segues into, my third question is, what were your biggest learnings or discoveries about yourself during the competition? And I mean, you spoke about IQ and being aware of, your periphery, the people who are moving around you. But other than that, I mean, in the context of such a short space of time, what was it that really unearthed, that really came out?
That I could keep quiet. I always thought I was so talkative until I came into a group of talkative people. Then I'm like, oh, so I can't keep quiet. Look at me.
Hey,
So I
okay.
think that one big thing I learned about myself, and I think sometimes we get the misconception that speaking a lot means that you're making sense or you're speaking
Right.
meaningful. People try to be the loudest in the room. People try to be the
Yeah.
most heard, and it's not always about that. And I learned that
Yeah.
there's a time to speak, and when you speak, you add value. So people
Absolutely.
tend to listen when you speak. So I learned how to navigate that in terms of, okay, let me listen, let me understand, and then let me say my part. Because sometimes we're so quick to respond. We listen to respond and not to understand.
Mm,
And I think that's
mm,
one thing I've learned in the competition, that you must listen to understand and then respond,
mm,
as
mm.
opposed to people respond so easily. And you're like,
Yeah.
sometimes you ask them, did you hear my question? Did you hear?
Right.
Because while you're speaking, someone is thinking of the answer. And I think
Right.
that's one thing my mom told me years ago, where she
Mm.
asked me something and I responded, and she's like, "Did you understand my question?" And I was like,
Right.
"What was your question?" And she's like, "You
Right.
see, you didn't listen." And I started learning that that's an actual skill, listening to
Mm.
understand and then to respond, as opposed to just listening to respond.
Mm.
Because now people don't appreciate your opinion because they know, "Ah,
Mm.
I will just say
It
anything."
wasn't thought.
But now
Yeah.
once you understand what you're being asked and you respond, people look forward to what you're going to say because you've become so insightful. You almost come across like a guru, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Absolutely.
if you're not, people look at you and they're like, it's brilliant. What is she gonna say? What is she gonna say?
I think, looking at the competition, initially, you and I think it was Morgan had a moment like that, listening to respond. And I think that is such a phenomenal discovery because I think going forward to a more human-centric, but also allowing, you know, the the technological advances with regards to AI that are coming, I think at the core of it, we still need that human touch. And you discovering and speaking about how it is that we need to listen to each other is such a resounding kind of reflection that I hope, will speak to the entirety of the industry.
Mm,
Karabo, I have just a couple more questions for you, just in closing, if you don't mind.
I don't. I don't.
Perfect, perfect. What are you most excited for this year? This is your tenure, this is your year to shine. What are you most excited about?
I think I'm most excited about actually making a difference in educating people on insurance. One thing
Nice.
I've realized is that people aren't too educated about insurance, our clients especially. If you're not in the industry, it's difficult to understand industry jargon. I've got a client who always says to me, "Don't speak to me in Harvard English when I
Yes,
speak,
yes.
in industry jargon." And I dumb it down so much that he understands what it is that I'm speaking about. And I've realized that's such a pivotal thing in our role.
Mm,
One of my lectures at a course that I'm doing actually said, what if the insurance industry could put they their scripting into pictures, as well
mm,
as the underwriting and compliance into pictures? Do you not think someone would leave and say, "Okay, so if I crash my car, this is what's going to happen"?
right,
It just
right.
simplifies it. And just the human touch, when people feel heard, they are able to keep the relationship. They are able to
Absolutely.
speak about you.
Absolutely.
They are able to resonate with you as a person and not as someone that's selling them a product. They're able to say, "I
Mm,
spoke to Garabo. It was such a fruitful
mm,
conversation." They don't just say, "Oh, an insurer called me." So
right,
I think we need to go back to the core of that and understanding that people are important, people matter,
right,
clients
right.
matter, because
Yeah.
essentially what we're ensuring is their livelihoods, their lives. And
Mm,
it's important to communicate that with understanding, and it's not about just the bottom line and the sale, because
100%.
essentially once someone understands what it is that you're doing, it's easier for them to stick with you. And it's not about the best price and it's not about the best premium, but it's about the
Mm,
relationship that they have with you and the trust that they have that you'll give them the right advice.
absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, to Lizelle at the FIA sentiment as well, she spoke around, kind of your ideology and what you wish to translate into the industry. It's
Mm,
much bigger again than, the bottom line. How is it that we are ensuring that this kind of our industry remains sustainable by
mm,
centering the client, by centering the customer?
mm.
Second last question, Karaba. I know I'm asking so many questions, but
That's okay.
you'll allow me.
Yes.
For anyone watching, thinking about applying for the insurance apprentice specifically, I mean, Rianet again, thank you, thank you, thank you, has been such a phenomenal mentor, as such a phenomenal kind of guide in this context. To anyone thinking of applying for the 2027 insurance apprentice, and they think that they're not good enough. I remember Sanda Magwaza, second runner-up, Tyrell Moodley recently spoke about this. People who think that they're not good enough. I mean, Tyrell coming from an actuary background, Asanda with the imposter syndrome. The not good enough rhetoric seems to be something that is, consistently coming up in this show. What would you say to that archetype, to that type of person?
I think testing is necessary. A diamond doesn't know that it's a diamond until it's put through fire.
Powerful. My word.
You
Yeah.
can't say, you know what, this is who I am or this is who I think I am until you've been put through the fire. And on such a public platform, you know that the fire is necessary, it's educational, but also it refines you in a way that you look at the industry from such a helicopter type of view that it makes you understand that you don't work in a silo. The whole industry speaks to each other. What we do affects somebody else, that affects somebody else, and the client essentially looks at the industry as the industry. It's very difficult
Yes.
for a client to look at just this company. It becomes an industry thing. That's why when they get calls, they're like, oh, it's insurance people. They don't say it's Kaya.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you need to be put through the fire to know that
Yes.
this is what I'm capable of. Also, it helps you reflect the things that you've
Mm.
doubted about yourself. You're able to look back and say, actually, I'm not as bad as I thought. I'm
Right.
actually good. I actually
Right.
sleep quite well. If nothing else, it's a public platform to introspect.
Right. Phenomenal. And in closing, just my sentiments again. Thank you, Karabo. Thank you to InsureTalk. Thank you to Rianet at FA News. Thank you to Lizelle for communicating her sentiments. Thank you to the entire, insurance industry. And Karabo, I wish you the absolute best in terms of your tenure. I will be seeing you in London at Lloyd's. So excited. And again, a hearty, hearty congratulations. I'm very sure that there's a resounding kind of applaud and encore from the insurance industry. We wish you the best. And to our sponsors, to our leaders, to our CEO, to our CEOs, thank you so, so much for continuing to sponsor and believing and investing in tomorrow's insurance professionals, because you're ensuring that we become future fit, that we become, at the leaders who are going to be at the helms of industry tomorrow. So again, thank you so, so much. Karabo, if you have any closing words.
I think you've said everything. Thank you to everyone. And I look forward to the next year, and I look forward to your mentorship in the next year. And the point is to make a difference. And that's what we're here to do. And thank you to InsureTalk and Rianet and everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you so much, Kai and Karabo, for that chat. It was a wonderful conversation. And Kaya, I want to thank you for continuing to carry the platform of the Insurance Apprentice and the title as our winner from 2025 forward, because you are proof that this competition is not a once-off. Yes, it's a career accelerator, but it also continues to showcase talent. And anybody listening to you, you'll go a long way to find somebody as articulate and an exceptional host and interviewer as you are. So congratulations and thank you very much. And I will continue to watch your career, as I know many others will, with interest. Karabo, congratulations again on your win 2026. As I mentioned, the EQ, the IQ, and you again spoke with such clarity and humility. It was wonderful to listening to you chatting and flipping the tables a little bit and asking the questions, which was wonderful. And just an example again of another exceptional young leader in our industry. I know that I talk on behalf of the thousands of people on today's session, how very proud we are of both of you and how excited we are to all watch your careers going forward. So thank you very much. To all the Insurance Apprentice participants, past and present, and to everybody involved in this, certainly Rianet for her vision around this, but for everybody who makes the series happen, the judges, the mentors, the sponsors, the production teams, our national broadcast employers, colleagues, families, everybody. These things do not happen by accident. And we should also not underestimate what the Insurance Apprentice does for our industry, for insurance. We were on the national broadcaster, on SABC, talking insurance, taking it into the homes of millions of people. And that matters because often we don't explain well enough what we do. But without insurance, literally nothing would function. Society would not be able to function. And the Insurance Apprentice is helping more people understand that. So now from emerging talent to national visibility, we move on to another one of the, I believe, great engines of our industry, our insurance institutes. Our next speaker is Robin Carter, and Robin is a seasoned insurance professional with more than 20 years of industry experience. She's recognized for building strong relationships and developing high-performance teams. She's deeply committed to mentoring, something we should all be doing more of, giving back, and helping build the broader insurance community. Robin is currently the Business Development Manager, Western Cape at Santam Specialist Solutions, and is also the immediate past president and current EXCO member of the Insurance Institute of the Western Cape. Outside of work, because we know that insurance people are superbly interesting, she's a mum of two, a fitness enthusiast, a musician, and someone who clearly is committed to personal growth, which is already making me a little bit tired just reading all of these accomplishments. Today, Robin's going to be giving us an update on the Insurance Institute of the Western Cape, what is happening, what's coming, and how people can get involved. But before I hand over to Robin, I want to give a proper shout out to everybody, those that are joining us, but also those who will be watching this later, everybody who serves on insurance institutes across the country. Whether you're in the IIG, massive local institute, our friends from the Eastern Cape, the Border Institute, very close to my heart, and if you haven't yet attended some of their functions, they are superb, and the broker community in the Eastern Cape just does phenomenal work. KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape that we've spoken about, to all of you, these regional structures and committees that serve as volunteers. You are people with day jobs, with families, with other commitments, but you serve the industry through these institutes. And yes, we have a lot of fun at the functions, but it is also a lot more than just that networking. And so a big shout out to every single person at an institute. Right, so Robin, thank you for your service to the insurance industry, and we are looking forward to what you have to share. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, InsureTalk, for the opportunity to present on this morning's session. As some of you may be aware, we are the Insurance Institute of the Western Cape. We are actually the oldest regional insurance institute. Very proud to say that. We are 128 years old. And everything that we are doing this year is guided by our new theme for the year, which is Igniting Impact. The purpose of which is to bring people together in ways that drive meaningful growth across our insurance industry. We're fortunate to have an amazing team of council members, and we are led by Shandre Stemmers, who is our current president. Sean Mgomezulu is our deputy president, and he was elected this year. And together with the other 21 council members, we make up the IIWC council team. Our first half of the year is almost complete, and we've already seen amazing growth and positive outcomes from our initiatives that we've driven for the first 6 months. The fresh perspectives from our new council members are helping to keep our content relevant and our approach dynamic. So we are very thankful for people who put up their hands and volunteer of the extra time to come on board with our team to make a difference in our industry. So our industry's purpose and mission is made up of 3 core pillars, one of which is education, and very much aligned to what Kaya and Karabo just spoke about around educating our industry, educating our clients. That is really a key focus for us as an institute and for our council. We deliver both calendar, face-to-face and online learning experiences for our members, and we want to ensure that we reach and engage with all our members across the full value chain, and that those engagements are meaningful and there's there's great value and learnings that is taken from it. Our focus is on creating spaces where learning is practical, where it's interactive and truly impactful for our members. A great example is we hosted a classroom session yesterday, and the purpose of it, or the topic that was discussed, was around how to interpret and effectively communicate a survey report or risk survey requirements to your client. In addition to that, we host various other webinars throughout the year. There are various other classroom sessions that we host as well, and all of which are CPD accredited. So you can actually make up your full CPD allocation for the year just by attending the IRWC's edu webinars and classroom sessions. So the second pillar of what we do is the networking side to things. And our events calendar and our events team has been very, very busy ensuring that we have good networking opportunities. Our events team is headed up by Monique Walker-Randall, and you have absolutely no idea what happens on the back end in arranging an event and the time and the effort that it takes to get something off the ground. Our standout events is obviously the gala dinner and our Arabella Golf Day, both of which is already sold out for the year. And it's become such a high demand event to attend that people are trying to pre-book a year in advance already. So we are very thankful for the response from the industry and from our members for those networking opportunities. But it's not just about the big glamorous events and sporting events. We do host a Women's Day initiative as well. And so this year, there's a new signature event that we are hosting to bring our female professionals together in a place where we can exchange stories, engage, and get to grow our network as well. We like to try and keep our engagements fresh and relevant, and so hopefully that's what we can continue to achieve with this year's Women's Day event. And then for the sporting enthusiasts, there are some sporting events and lifestyle type curated events that we do. We do a paddle event, which will happen in the latter part of this year. And our next event that is in our calendar is a boerie, beer and bingo evening. So if you enjoy either one of those things or all three at the same time, please hop onto our website and get your ticket for that event. It's selling out really fast. There's only a few tickets left for the boerie, beer and bingo event. And then in our under 35 space, because the young professionals and younger people and members in our industry is really very important to us, and we like to nurture that space and develop that space. So we have an amazing under 35s stream, and fortunately we have council members who are actually under 35, so they are able to navigate and they know what's hot and what's not for our younger members. We'll be hosting a silent disco and a coffee disco for our under 35s. But it's really just a great opportunity also where they can connect and build their network as younger professionals in our industry. We recently hosted an exclusive under 35s education day, and the attendees had first-hand sessions and learnings from leading institutions just around their career paths, how to build and map out their career paths, studying opportunities, and we actually gave away a full bursary prize to one of the attendees. And we're very, very thankful for our partners who come on board with us and invest in our industry and develop and help us develop our leaders, our younger leaders in that space. Then still in the under 35 space, we have our RISE mentorship program. And this has really been a passion project of mine and very close to my heart. And from when I stepped onto council a few years ago, the RISE mentorship program has been in the running for 6 years now. And we have an exceptional caliber of both mentees and mentors on the program this year. It's been really amazing to see how this program has grown over the last 6 years. It's transitioned into a 9-month journey that the mentors walk with the mentees, and to see the development and the growth with each individual that steps onto the program on the day of graduation has just been so heartwarming and absolutely amazing to witness and see. If you are a younger person in our industry and interested in joining the RISE program for next year, please keep an eye on our social media pages and on our website for when the call for mentees does go live. And in the same breath, if you are a seasoned professional and you've got some spare time you'd like to give back and help assist in mentoring and nurturing our future leaders, please also reach out to any one of our council members on how you can get involved with RISE. And for those who don't know, RISE stands for Redefining Individual Skills and Education. Our final pillar that we thrive on is our charity space. And we've partnered alongside 4 charities this year that we really try and assist and help as we see the needs arise with the organizations. So Sarki Bartman Center for Women and Children is one of the organizations that we partner with. We will be putting out communiques soon around how you can get involved in a drive for toiletries for the center. And also as needs arise at a later stage, we will also communicate on how you can get involved with the Sarki Bartman Center. In addition to Sarki Bartman, we partner with Mzananda Animal Clinic, and they've been a long-standing partner of ours. We do a pet food collection at our golf day every year and do a drop-off at the clinic in Khayelitsha every year. And we are currently busy working on a wish list with the clinic, which we'll be sharing with our members. And hopefully you can get involved on what the needs are that arise from the wish list once it's released and make a difference in that space. Then together with those 2 charities, we also work with the Message Trust and Gangstar Cafe. The Message has also been partnering with us for the last 5 years or so. And we really work with their youth at risk in their Nyanga and their Parkwood hubs, also just going in and trying to assist and see what the needs are within the hubs that they work with the youth in those areas. And then also from the Gangstar Cafe side, you may have seen at our beach cleanup, at our gala dinner, there's always a nice hot warm cup of coffee, and that's provided by the Gangstar coffee truck. And they've really come on board well, we've been supporting each other really in trying to build the relationship with the larger community there. And then lastly, the Percy Bartley Home for Boys. The boys have really become part of our IRWC family. You may have seen them at our past action soccer events or at the beach cleanup. The kids are running around frantically assisting us in cleaning up the beach and burning off the extra energy on the action soccer court. And the boys have really grown and developed and become like family to us. We try and assist as needs arise. We've gone and done Easter egg drop-offs there, which I don't think the matron was very happy about because it was really tons of Easter eggs and sweets, and she had to manage the consumption by the kids. But they are really close to the IWC and close to our members, to the point that our members have stepped forward out of their own to take the boys on hikes or just see and assist with clothing and shoes and things like that. So we are very proud of what we've achieved with them, but still excited to see how we can assist them and partner with them moving forward. And then lastly, none of what we do is possible without you, our members, and also our partners who sponsor our events and come alongside us and walk this journey with us. We cannot do any events, we cannot reach any communities if it's not for the help of our people in our industry. So just on behalf of the IRWC, a massive thank you to everyone who's come on board to assist, who walks alongside us in sponsorship and partnership, whether it's been past or current, and also to our future partners. We are very, very thankful thankful for your donations and your contributions towards the success of the Institute. Ultimately, we are igniting impact by creating opportunities for connection, because when people connect and insights are shared, innovation is sparked and the industry moves forward together. If you'd like to know more about what we are doing and how you can get on board to assist, please look for us on social media. It's II Western Cape, or our website is iiwc.co.za. Alternatively, please reach out to our administration, which is info@iiwc.co.za, or you can contact any one of our council members. We will gladly make time to have a conversation and welcome everyone on board. Thank you very much. Thanks, Carol. Back to you.
The CN&CO team are proud to introduce the launch edition of the Insurance Conference Western Cape. Hosted at the beautiful Plaisir Wine Estate in the Cape Winelands, the Insurance Conference Western Cape takes place on the 20th and 21st of August 2026. This exclusive two-day gathering brings together brokers, insurers, underwriters, service providers, and industry decision-makers for thought-provoking conversation, strategic insight, and meaningful connection. Designed as a curated platform for collaboration and innovation, the conference creates space for the conversations, partnerships, and perspectives shaping the future of insurance in South Africa. From engaging discussions to high-value networking opportunities, the Insurance Conference Western Cape delivers an industry experience focused on insight, connection, and innovation. Registrations are now open. To secure your spot and find out more about the event, visit theinsuranceconference.co.za today. The Insurance Conference Western Cape. Insight, connection, innovation.
Thank you very much for that update, Robin, and sharing all the exciting initiatives from the IIWC. And as I said, these institutes really matter, and the work that you and the team do is so vitally important, because you keep us connected, you give an opportunity for young people to engage, and it's just a fantastic network. So if you're not involved in your local institute, please get involved. The IIWC, Robin and the team are also the association partners for, or the institute partners for the insurance conference. The little video that you just saw, that's happening on the 20th of August. If you haven't yet secured your spot and you want to join us in Cape Town, which is where the insurance conference is taking place, 20th of August, the website is theinsuranceconference.co.za. Tickets are 1,250 Rand. And we have capped the number of tickets, and we are very close to selling out. So if you are still debating whether to attend or not, please will you join us. We're intentionally keeping this conference to a particular size, so there won't be more tickets available once we sell out. Please make sure that you go to the insuranceconference.co.za if you want to join us. There's lots of information about our sponsors and the activities that are happening. The idea really is that there is some superb content during the day. We're starting at about 11 o'clock, and then there's an opportunity in the evening to also invite more people from your office, to invite clients, to host people. The dinner is intentionally priced to be an opportunity for you to host people. So the dinner is priced at 850 Rand to help you host people. And then there are a number of other networking activities that are taking place. Bespoke wine tastings, paddle, and we'll be releasing that information starting next week with some of our sponsors that are involved. And I'm hugely excited by what the team's put together, and we look forward to all of you joining us there. Lizelle from the FIA is as always highly engaged as her other colleagues. Lizelle just posted before this section happened an interesting update in the chat. But because there is so much thank you and chattering, Lizelle, I wonder if I can just ask you to repost that last message that you posted, because it was super interesting and I think a great initiative that I just want people to see. So please just check out the chat. Lizelle will post it again now. So we move to our final speaker for the day, and it's fitting that we end with a broker perspective. Innovation is important, AI is important, claims automation is important, marketing, institutes and industry structures are important. But at the coalface, where clients sit with risk, uncertainty, cost pressures, complex businesses, and difficult decisions, it's the broker that remains absolutely central. And our next speaker is Kieran Fels, Managing Director of the Inland Region at Olia. Kieran began his insurance career in 1990, first building his expertise as a commercial and later as a corporate property underwriter at SA Eagle and Mutual and Federal in Joburg. He then moved into the Cape Town market, where his leadership responsibilities broadened across corporate, engineering, marine and risk finance. Later moved to Old Mutual, where he served in an executive capacity in the group's insurance buyer. In that role, he oversaw global insurance programs, established a captive insurance company for the group, and served on the executive committee of the group governance cluster. After that, Kieran joined Phoenix Risk Solutions, a Cape Town-based commercial brokerage, before moving to Olia in September 2025. So as you can see, somebody who is well-rounded and lots of experience across the insurance chain. Kieran is a fellow of the Insurance Institute of South Africa, and by the way, if you haven't yet gotten your designation, check out the IISA's website and make sure that you become an associate, a licentiate, or a fellow. Lots of advantages for doing that. So Kieran is one of our fellows, and he also holds a BCom in marketing from the Regent Business School. His topic today is Broker's View on the Current State and Future of Insurance in South Africa. To conclude today and bring it all home, Kieran, welcome to InsureTalk. We look forward to your presentation.
Thanks very much, Carl, for the kind introduction. And to those of you who've managed to stay online for 2 hours plus, welcome to the graveyard shift. And I do hope that you find what I have to say of interest and use going forward. Just interesting listening to what Robin had to say about the Insurance Institute Western Cape. Over 20 council members and possibly growing if there is space. So going back 20 plus years ago, the same institute, there were 3 council members. It was almost defunct. And between myself, a certain then young lady by the name of Christelle Coleman and a young gentleman by the name of James Shepherd took the reins, and it's so gratifying to see where the Institute has progressed to, and it's a really good segue into what I want to speak about today. As Carl said, the broking community is the ham in the sandwich between insured and insurer, between risk buyer and risk seller, and it's something of an unsung component to an unsung industry in the country. And as a representative of Olia, I can actually and will be speaking a little bit wider than what's happening in South Africa, but wider on the African continent. So I find it helpful to take a step back from the coalface from time to time to review where we're at as a business and as an industry, for that matter, as a country, because we need to find what our purpose is in order to align our actions to that purpose. And as an insurance industry, our purpose really is we're advising our clients about risks that they face. We present ourselves as professionals. To do that, we need to, and at risk of essentially mentioning one of my concluding remarks right up front, we need to engender in ourselves a sense of imagination, because without that, we cannot begin to fully understand the scope of risk that exists in our clients' worlds and, for that matter, our own lives. Without imagination, we can't begin to think about the quantity and velocity of things that could happen, and how do we translate that into language that our clients can understand and adjust to, and then take action from. So without further ado, I'm going to share some slides and take you through my thoughts about where we are currently in South Africa and the wider African continent on a number of different topics. So I'll be speaking to a review of the broad concept of risk. And in that context, current regulation, what's happening, as I mentioned, throughout Africa, things that we can use as advisors and buyers of insurance, such as captive insurance, to mitigate and transfer risk in different ways. And then lastly, and again, you know, so apt in a sense, the previous speakers, Karabo, Kraya, Robin, all speaking about essentially the same thing, our careers, the progression of our careers, and the need for transfer of skills, not transfer of risk, but in a way it's actually mitigating risk, and really encouraging and heartening to see what local institutes are doing across the country with regard to mentorship and training skills transfer. So on the agenda today, I'll be speaking about the fact that we live in a certain segment of time, and we need to recognize that that risk isn't static, that it moves across time, and that if we don't appreciate those changes over time, it's more difficult to fully translate what we've seen in the past to what may happen in the future, and advise our clients accordingly to take proactive measures to address those changes. In order to do that, ideally, and this is a very subjective point, but ideally we need to depersonalize how we see risk. We need to be less subjective, more objective, and often take a contrarian view of things, because there is a certain risk called groupthink. And groupthink means that we align with what everybody else is saying, and we don't actually translate what's really happening into appropriate actions. So if we are able to use our imagination fully, that could result in thoughts about a particular risk that don't corroborate with what groupthink would suggest we should think about those risks. Yet that might be, in fact, the most obvious result of the particular risk we're considering. I'll also be speaking about a separate type of risk in the form of regulation. And we're all very aware of, let's call it the mini tsunami of regulation that the financial services industry in particular has been subjected to over the last 10 plus years. And to debate with you whether or not that regulation has in fact achieved its objectives. A discussion of risk can't really be had without reference to insurance, and sometimes to zoom out to what are those principles is also a good way to remind ourselves and our clients certain objective points upon which the concept of insurance is based. So just a quick review of that. Then I'll be looking at what's going on in the South African market and wider, what's happening in the soft market. and some emerging, and some emerged risks. Of course, everybody's been speaking about AI. Cyber is related, of course. The effects in particular on brokers, but the wider market, the insurer market, of the soft market conditions we find ourselves in currently. The use of captives, as I mentioned, and then finally, careers, the skills gap, mentorship topics. So going back a little bit, as mentioned, risk exists in a continuum. So if we're not aware of past events, it's more difficult to interpret what's happening today and project what could happen in the future. There was an author by the name of Alvin Toffler who wrote a book, I think in 1970, called Future Shock, which really illustrated beautifully the conditions that we find ourselves in today, which is really what happened in the long distant past still has application today. He spoke about the Greco-Persian wars that happened many centuries ago, but that still have impact on us today in terms of so many different things, and in particular what's happening in the Middle East. And the lines of division that were created back then still exist today in many respects. So I just mentioned as a point to illustrate that we need to be alive to events in the past that are influencing and shaping current day events that will help us to predict what happens in the future. So sometimes as a broker, we bring this objective outside voice. The client is buried in managing and running their business, and they don't always get the time or the space or the objective position in which to recognize and address some risks that may seem obvious to us as an external outsider with a somewhat unvested interest in the business. So again, to maybe overly hammer home the point, we just need to use our imaginations as much as our skills and our understanding of what products are available to those clients that may fit their particular situation and help them to transfer risks back into the insurance market and off their balance sheets. And I'm sure everybody would be familiar with this quote from Alvin Toffler in his book: "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." So the point being, we need to be nimble in our thinking and our ability to adjust to changing circumstances and translate that back to our insured clients. So this process is an ongoing, never-ending cycle. And our role as brokers is always to ensure that they ensure a trust relationship with our clients and with our insurers, because our clients need to trust our position as a professional in order to let us into perhaps their crown jewels, the things that are the most important in that business, without which it is likely to no longer operate. Usually because of the nature of those things, clients prefer to keep a tight rein on them and a tight control over who has knowledge of those things. But without that information, as advisors, we are in a difficult position to fully advise our clients. And as most people will know, often insurance is very transactional in nature, and insureds are typically more interested in their premium and what it's going to cost, as opposed to the true nature of the transaction, and how it's going to sustain and maintain their business operations when it really matters most. So we need to, as far as possible, and I guess this applies as much as a risk advisor, as an external objective outside view, as much as an internal, hopefully objective view. That's perhaps a chief risk officer role typically would have. And this can be something of a controversial position, but to really analyze, assess, and describe risk often requires a contrarian view of that particular risk. So it does take a certain sense of humility. Gosh, let me just go back. There's a number of events that I could speak to maybe illustrate these points. The one that really comes to mind is COVID and the lockdowns and the ensuing masking and vaccination programs. A contrarian view would say, well, was that the best way to deal with the fallout of that particular event? And by anyone's measure, that was a significant global event that reverberates still today and probably will for some time to come. The point I'm trying to illustrate is that there was, without question, a lot of groupthink around how best to mitigate that particular event. And it would be interesting to debate whether the general consensus view resulted in the best outcome following that event. And I guess the best question to always ask is, what if? What if we did something different? How would that pan out? So that is, in a sense, depersonalizing a view of risk, because we in order to assess risk clearly, we need to objectify it rather than subject it to our own personal biases. And of course, that's a very difficult thing to do. But if we are mindful and intent on doing that, I think we have a better chance in succeeding. So we should apply that same rigor as an insurance broker to every risk that our clients present to us. I'm just conscious of time, so and I see some people are dropping off already. I just want to get through a few more things. Regulation, there's been a lot of regulation probably over the last 20 to 30 years in South Africa and much more wide field globally. The question worth asking is whether that regulation has actually achieved its objectives, which is to ensure a safe environment, particularly for the buyers of financial services. And an argument could certainly be made that it hasn't, and that in fact it's really difficult, if not impossible, to regulate the basic requirements of the industry, which is very well described in phase in terms of fit and proper, honesty and integrity. But the risk here is about, well, where do we get those particular attributes from? And it certainly can't be in legislation. It in fact probably starts right in our childhood, where certain core tenets are learnt or not learnt. So the essence being that regulation is necessary, of course, but it's not sufficient. And part of our jobs, I guess, in terms of coming back to Robin's discussion, the insurance apprentice as examples, is to transfer not just skills, but a way of being. And if we are to earn the trust of our clients, honesty and integrity good character are things that are required. Just a quick touch on principles of insurance, because these are the very core of what we need to be advising clients about. And sometimes we have clients who don't want to hear certain things that they need to be told. So particularly something like acting as a prudent uninsured, the concept of utmost good faith, where they need to disclose information that's material to the risk to the insurer in order for the insurer to assess that risk and at what terms they're prepared to accept that risk. Without which, the risk for the client, of course, being a potentially voidable insurance policy when it matters most in both of those cases. So these are things that I guess as an insurance broker, we need to be mindful of at all times and ensure that our clients are made aware of these too. Just a quick look across South Africa and the rest of the African continent. South Africa clearly is the biggest market, and much of our legislation is cascaded, shall we say, from the UK. And sometimes some of this legislation finds its way into the rest of Africa as well. But our Conduct of Financial Institutions Bill is really a really behemoth piece of legislation that's going to change things significantly for the industry. We need to get our heads around the impact that it's going to have. For us, that is a risk that we need to address. Interesting to compare what happened in the UK with their RDR, which we eventually did not implement in South Africa, and just as well, because it did create consternation, at least in the UK, and we at least managed to avoid that. So I would say it's important that we recognize that we have a voice, that we need to apply our minds to what legislation means in terms of risk to our businesses, to our clients, whether those businesses are brokerages or insurers. These risks are quantifiable, and we need to address if we don't believe that those are in the best interests of the industry and the wider economy and our clients. Across Africa, everybody, I think, is aware that South Africa is by far the biggest insurance market, but things are changing, and there's certainly a lot of opportunity in Africa outside of South Africa. Penetration rates are very low, but growing quickly, particularly in the non-life space, but life space is catching up fast. So whether as a broker or an insurer, there's opportunities, and as we all know, where there's opportunities, there's risk. There's many risks associated with growing your business outside of South Africa. And these are just some of the things at Olia that we are looking at and aware of. There's quite a disparate sense of different countries in terms of their risk maturity, the development of their insurance industries. Botswana, for instance, well developed. Others much less so, and also with a reputation for instability and perhaps difficulty getting profits out of the country, and just regulatory uncertainty. We've seen instances where there's been a lot of intervention by the local government in terms of ownership of property, and those risks are very real across the continent. So how to address these? As as an insured and as an advisor to larger insureds, captives do seem to be a growing position taken. And I'll share some slides briefly showing how captives have grown over the past couple of years. And they form an answer to so many questions. And in the further past, captives are often more created in hard market conditions as a hedge against the hard market conditions. What we're seeing now is, even in very soft market conditions, there's an increasing number of captives being formed because of the changing scope of risk globally. As you can see on the slide, there's many reasons why captives are growing, and some might even argue that the coffee ball is hastening insureds in forming new captives prior to that bill becoming law. So a couple of interesting and with thanks to Richard Kutcher of Captive Intelligence for this information. Interesting where captives are globally that have head offices in South Africa. South Africa, as one might expect, has the most. Mauritius has grown quite significantly. Guernsey, Island, and Bermuda. Interesting, Labuan. You could argue, you could perhaps wonder where that is, and it's a growing destination for captives in the Far East, and the reasons are actually quite familiar. It is very legislative friendly, tax friendly, with lower capital requirements, and there's a couple of South African parent companies that have introduced captives in that destination. Interestingly, since our topic here today is insurance companies are the biggest creators of captive insurers, and that's probably understandable given what they do. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think that the takeaway point is captives is a growing piece of risk mitigation that large corporates either have been or should be looking to use in order to contain their total cost of risk in a sustainable and efficient way. Everybody knows the kind of market that we find ourselves in, and I guess the question is, well, how long is it going to last, and to what extent is the downward trajectory of rates going to continue? And having sat in insurers' shoes in the past, the lament is always that somebody else is going to reduce their rates in order to grow their book, and it seems to be a never-ending cycle, and that nobody is big enough to break. And it does seem somewhat self-defeating in that as insurers reduce rates, profitability obviously reduces too, and it's an inevitable thing that rates eventually will start turning. So what to do as a broker? One can't ignore the fact of the soft market, and a broker will stand to lose business if not taking steps to protect their clients and to utilize those reduced rates as a client retention mechanism. But it is a good opportunity for brokers to take to perhaps assist clients in either buying additional covers or restructuring how covers are made or placed, and perhaps broadening the scope of cover and reducing deductibles. Difficult for insurers. But currently, and let's hope it continues, insurer profitability seems to be ongoing, and so long as that continues, I guess soft market conditions will continue. So it's just one of those facts of the insurance industry that we don't ever think will change. We've spoken a lot about AI, and in my mind, it probably is the biggest risk and opportunity that the industry faces. I was listening to Wackhead this morning on KFM here in Cape Town, who was talking about AI and the impact it's had and having on education in China, where apparently they have discontinued. He mentioned a ridiculous amount of different degrees. I forget the number, but particularly in the human sciences, in the arts, in religion, in history, that they are no longer teaching because they believe that AI has made that type of information, that type of education redundant. And the projection is that AI will be able to do the functions of most industries together with humanoid robots, probably within the next 10 to 15 years. And I guess with the risk hat on, the question is, well, were that to be true, how are we going to address that? How are we going to adjust to that? And how are we going to advise our clients regarding that potential outcome? Another interesting piece of information I came across recently in the context of AI is the concept that AI will extend our lifespan, potentially to a point where the velocity of our longevity reaches a tipping point. So effectively, that the pace of technological advancement with the use of AI is such that currently, for every year that we live, we save about 5 months of our life through the technological advancements currently underway. At Harvard, there's a study that suggests that by around 2032, that velocity will have improved to around 12 months. That would mean that for every 12 months we live, we save 12 months in longevity. So you can see where this is going, that essentially we could, and it sounds, even as I speak it sounds ridiculous to say, but that we could live forever. There's real risk and opportunity and a contemplation of, philosophically, what is it that we're going to do? Because if we don't have work, because robots are doing it for us, what purpose will we have? So coming back to where I started this, to define what our purpose is such an important thing in order to guide all of our subsequent decisions. But if there's no need for work, what would our purpose be? And it's a profound question to think about, and much more difficult to find an answer to. So coming back to less ephemeral topics, but nonetheless very real topics. Across Africa, and I think South Africa too, political instability is a thing. As I was mentioning earlier, expropriation is actually a real thing. Property expropriated in as friendly countries, or one would think friendly, such as Ghana. And this is problematic for both insureds and insurers. Risks such as regulatory overreach, market capacity, driving that soft market, the skills gap, as we've been speaking. What are we doing about these risks, and how are we going to shape our response to those to ensure a good future, perhaps even a great future? So insurance as a field offers such an amazing broad scope for different types of skills different, not even insurance or financial services related careers, from engineering to lawyering, to medical, many doctors in the field. Obviously, analytics and actuarial science is a significant piece of things that the industry needs. So it's a fantastic industry, and one that we can be proud to be part of. My own personal view is to make the most of it. We need to give back as much as we get, and that really is one of the reasons that mentorship, I think, is something that is starting to take more and more hold, and we need to find ways to widen the scope of that, to reach every single newcomer into the industry, widen the mindset of every person who has experience and knowledge in the field, that when the time comes, they too will want to give back and train the next generation. It's been recognized from InsureTalk, the FIA, thanks to Lazelle, the Insurance Institute of South Africa, our local institutes also have been running mentorship programs for the last number of years. So we need to be mindful of what it is that we're transferring. And in my view, it needs to be the appropriate culture, the appropriate ethics, appropriate professional identity. So that just brings my conclusion, which is really to try and summarize. Let's have an imagination. Let's work on building more and more imagination in ourselves in order to think about what risks could occur before they occur and what would be the appropriate steps to take in terms of advising our clients and, for that matter, ourselves, our colleagues, our insurance markets with regard to those risks. There's a huge gap in insurance buying across Africa. It's an opportunity, it's a threat, and depending on our perspective of risk will be the answer as to whether we go into Africa or not, into the rest of Africa. So that really just concludes a brief overview from my point with regard to where we find ourselves in the insurance market currently in South Africa, and what are the risks and the prospects for our future. Thank you, Carl. It's been great to be able to speak to everybody, and I'm going to hand back to you now.
Thank you very much, Kieran, for that presentation, and it's a fitting way to close today's speaker program, because the broker perspective matters tremendously. Technology can improve the system, data can sharpen decisions, AI can speed up claims, and platforms can create scale, but at the end of the day, clients still need advice, judgment, trust, and someone who understands their world. So thank you very much. That has been a strong thread through today's InsureTalk. Innovation matters, but people matter more. And the future of insurance will not be built by technology alone. It will be built by people who use technology well, who understand risk, who serve clients properly, and who keep learning. Thank you again to all of our speakers, Ruben John, Christo Crawford, Lazelle van der Merwe, Kaya Mashaloche, Karoba Mashego, Robin Carter, and Kieran Fels. Thank you to Ruben and the team from True Aim, our event partner today. Thank you to the FIA, FA News, and Llewellyn and the CN&CO team, especially for Verona. And I haven't had an update on the baby, so we'll have to find out. Thank you to all who've joined us, the thousands of insurance professionals who make time for InsureTalk every month. And I want to end with a very South African note. Our football team is at the World Cup. Our rugby team is in action this weekend. And whether it's football, rugby, the comrades, or insurance, for me the lesson is the same. No one wins alone. You need skill, yes. You need preparation. You need courage, and you need a bit of luck. But mostly, you need a team. You need people who know their roles, who trust each other, who adapt when conditions change, and who keep going when things get hard. And that is what insurance does at its best. It helps people and businesses keep on going. It helps our economy recover. It helps families rebuild. It helps South Africa to take risks, invest, grow, and move forward. So enjoy the football now, enjoy the rugby this weekend, and keep backing this extraordinary industry of insurance. We'll see you next month. Thanks for joining us in InsureTalk.